All right, so this is the next thing we're going to do here is the AC vents. Okay, and then we'll also do the little bottom thing. The AC vents are actually pretty simple to do because we basically have, we look at this, we zoom in and look at this, we have the structure already laid out. Okay, so what we need to do is just go in here and add those little line type things in. These guys that are here, let me put the pivot up there by holding DC and moving it back. These pieces that we put in are just kind of like black things that will just color black so we can't see straight through this. Okay, so I pushed it back a bit further, and if we look at this, it's simply just these little slats. Okay, so the slats are no big deal to create. I'm just going to use a NURBS cylinder. Go into the top view, and let me isolate it so we don't see everything else. Okay, I'm going to go in with 12 divisions here. Actually, yeah, let's go 12 divisions, and let's say 6 spans. So I'm going to go to Control Vertex, and I just want to make this more flattened out. So I'm just going to flatten these in, pull these out. I don't want to go past those other points that are there. I'm going to keep it before it. Same thing here. Let's just scale these in, scale that out. Okay, back to object mode. Scale it down. Okay, it's looking a little bit rounded, so I'm just going to grab these points and push them out. Okay, I think that'll be sufficient. So now if I jump back to perspective view, we have basically this kind of shape. I can shrink that down so we have more of a vent look to it. Okay, so I just need to cap it off now. So I'm going to go to Control Vertex or Hull, doesn't matter which. And I'll go to a front view so I can see it better. And I'm just going to grab this guy and shrink him down. Scale him in. Scale him in, scale him in. Okay, just same way we did it before, just dragging it right to the center. Okay, and I'm going to do it the other way too. So I'm in perspective view so I can see the other way, or I can switch to the front view or the side view or whatever I need to. Okay, so then this other guy, the next one, I'm just going to move up while holding V, grab the arrow, and it snaps. So I can scale that in a little bit. Grab this guy, hold V, snap him up. Okay, and then this guy I'm just going to pull up really close, and you can see how we basically created this little bar that is going to deliver fresh air conditioning or warm heat to our vehicle. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Grab these, scale it down, scale it down, scale it down. Okay, and then scale it down the other way. And I'm just scaling it until it stops moving. And you'll see it. If you just keep doing it, eventually you'll get to the point where it just stops moving. See, can't move it. Grab this one, hold, go to the move tool, hold V, drag the arrow down, scale it slightly, grab this one, scoot it down, and I think I held V on that one too, there we go. Grab this one, scoot it down further, and you see how I have one bar left in the middle, which is fine, that works. Okay, so there's my bar. I can probably thin it out a little bit, probably too thick. Okay, so there we go. So now we just created one of those bars. We'll hide this again. Oops, turn our isolate select off. And I'm just going to go to the move tool and just point snap this guy over here. Nope. Curve snap, holding C. There we go. And then I rotate it 90 degrees. Now you may have to play with the direction that this thing goes, just because in mine you can see how it kind of arches back. Some of these, like this one that we're looking at, it's arched, but not as much as mine is. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a side view. And I have to kind of visualize what this is going to look like. And just make sure that we're... I think we had this before, yes. Okay. Just wasn't showing that part of it because of our other thing. There we go. I hit 3 so I could see the smoothness of this on here. Alright, so here's my piece. I'm going to rotate it slightly. Oh, let's say like this. Okay, so these will be more horizontal like that. So now I can just duplicate, scoot it up slightly, Shift D, scoot it back a little bit, Shift D, scoot it back a little bit, Shift D, scoot it back, which is good there. And I'm just hitting Shift D and scooting it back. And I know I'm going to have to adjust these after, because if I go to perspective now, you can see how some of these are sticking out. Well, I'll adjust them all kind of at the same time. Oops. And that one's past our line, so we're good there. Okay, so now here's all my vents. So I want to rotate them going sideways. So I'm going to take the pivots and I'm just going to slide them. Oops. It's hard to see that little manipulator. It's on the other side, that's why. Slide the pivot over here. So now when I rotate, I'm just rotating it back. Okay, and I can also probably scale these down slightly too. Alright, so now there's that branch. And if we look at this, you can see there's actually ones that go vertical as well. So I'm just going to take, let's say the bottom one, duplicate it, rotate it up, and get rid of these other ones. There we go. And it's going to rotate back as well. Okay, I think I also need to take this piece, pull that back so I can see it more. I'm just going to delete those pieces. We'll fix that in a second. Okay, so I have this, duplicate it, scoot it over, Shift-D, 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 Shift-D. Good enough. And then we typically have something in the middle that helps us adjust it. So I'm going to borrow this guy. I'm going to duplicate him, move him to about the middle, shrink him in, fatten him up. A little more fat. There we go. So now we have a little manipulator here for that kind of stuff. Okay. So let me close the back of this off. I'm just going to go to Trim Edge. I'm going to click on the Trim Edge and say Surfaces Planar. There we go. That's a much easier way to get that. Okay. So now we have the vents done. There's other stuff that be inside here. We just can't see it because it's so dark. And this might be a little bit too much vent action happening. I may want to go through and delete every other vent. Or at least maybe rotate these back ones a little bit more, I think. So rotate these. There we go. Because I know from this angle I don't want to see too much inside there. Okay, so that's good. So now I'm going to grab all the pieces here, and I'm going to hold Control and deselect all the stuff I don't want. Go. So right now I should have just all these new pieces I've selected, and I could have just selected this one, shift click that one. Okay, that works too. So I'm going to group these. AC vent interior. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to negative scale it in the X direction. There we go. Oops. So there we go. There's our whole vent. Good to go. I think I will take the other pieces that we created here. It's not that guy. and rotate them the other way for this one. There we go. Okay. So now I have my AC vent pieces. So I can just drag these into my AC vents. Now all those are separated. Cool. So let's save. And now the next part we're going to do is just putting in this last little bit. And like I said, you basically know how to do this already. I'm going to steal another one of my curves. This guy here will work fine. So I'm going to duplicate him, right click, remove, hide it. Right click. Oh, because my group is, I have a group that's on there, so whatever. So I'm just going to go to Surface Extrude and make sure my extrude options are set to Profile Normal. There we go. Now I can hide that because that's all I needed was this guy. So I'm going to center pivot him. I'm going to scale him. I'm going to rotate him. And then I'm just going to position him where I need him to be. Okay, imagine that this is a storage area. I want to keep some of basically the same space I have here. I want to kind of keep that there too. That should be good. Okay. So I'm going to click this, shift click that. Maybe I'll go a little bit flatter. Maybe that'll work. All right. Okay. I'm just going to grab these two pieces and go to Surface Fillet, Circular Fillet, Apply, too tiny, hit undo. Let's go to 0.2, Apply. It's much better size, but it's the wrong direction, so we hit undo. Nope, undo. Undo, one more. There we go. Okay, so now we have it in the correct direction. I think that 0.2 is probably too big, so let's go to 0.1. There we go. That'll work. So now we go back to trimming. So edit NURBS trim. We want to keep this, trim this, and keep that. And I'm going to delete this piece because I just want to, oops, let me delete the history first. Delete this piece because I want to just use that trick we used before of grabbing the isoparm and just extruding that. Or not extruding it. I could extrude it too. I'm going to go to this isoparm, that isoparm, insert isoparms, and then grabbing that last hull and then just pulling it in. Okay, this way I can control the angle that this thing is coming in. And I can rotate it and just tweak it a little bit more. Okay, so I think that'll work. That should be good. I'm going to go to, I'm going to just do it with the plane. I'm just going to create a NURBS plane. I like the way that the fillets look compared to the scaling, but I could also do the scaling on this too, just to get rid of that opening there, just like we did on the cylinders for the vents. Alright, so we got those two. I'm going to go to Circular Fillet. We'll hit Apply. Wrong direction. There we go. I turned both of these off, and now we're good. So now I can go through and trim. Edit NURBS trim tool. There we go. I don't really need to trim this part because they're not going to see it. But you know, if it bothers you, then you can trim it, and that way you have a solid piece there. Okay, so we can add other stuff to this little thing too if we wanted just to add a little bit more detail. I'm going to steal this guy here. And borrowing is a common practice when we're modeling things. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to first pull him out of that group. If I go to the outliner, he's still in the AC vents, so I hold Shift, hit P, and he pops him out of that group. So I'm going to put this in here. That. I'm going to rotate it. Let me reset all my rotates. So I can just manually go through and rotate this down to 90. And rotate this back. Let's say 30. And then scale it up. Okay. I'm just going to have it poke through like that, just to give it a little bit of, like, you know, there's some rubbery material inside, or plastic that's kind of holding it. I'm going to center pivot this also, and just make sure my top view, if I turn my grid back on, there it is, that I'm snapped to this middle black line. Okay, hold down X, click the green, there we go. So now I'm uniform. So now I have this, so I can go to my side view, and just duplicate, scoot it back, Shift D. Guess I'm not at the right angle. So you can see as I move this, I go below the surface. Let me rotate it a little bit more this way. I'm looking at the red line here and trying to get these two parallel. So duplicate, scoot it back a bit, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. Alright, I'll just rotate them all and fix it. There we go. So it goes back that far. So then I can go to the outliner and grab all those pieces. Oops, not that guy. Group them. I'm going to put the pivot way up here and then just rotate until it looks pretty consistent. There we go. That looks good. Maybe a little bit lower. I think we're a little bit too high. A bit more rotation. There we go. So now it just looks like we have those little bumpy things that would be inside there for friction or something. Okay, and this is one of the cool things I love about NURBS is, as far as like details go, you can always add more details to this thing. I can go into, let's say I created a cylinder. There's a cylinder here. I just snapped it right to that. I think we decided it was 73 is the angle. And very quickly I could just kind of throw this in, add a fillet to these two, break a hole in it, and then create just an audio jack if I wanted to create this like the headphone connector. So just so you can see that real quick. Circular fillet, real low size because it's a small object. That's the wrong direction. That's the wrong direction. That's the right direction, but you see we didn't go all the way, so I just need to lower this even more. There we go, 0.02. That's good. So then we go back to our trim tool, and I say trim. I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to trim this outer piece. Then I can delete the history and delete. Hey, where'd it go? Let's try that again. I didn't want to trim that other piece. Right, let's just say I want to keep this. I want to go to the outside and trim that. I'm trying to show how quick this is, and then it gives me this nonsense. Aha, I had duplicates. That's why it wasn't working. Somehow I had copies and copies inside there. So that's why that didn't work. I had like 6 copies of that. Alright, so there's my fillet. Cool. There's this. Cool. Everything's good there still. Yeah, okay. So I can delete the history on this stuff. Delete this guy. And I'm just going to create an audio jack. So I'm just going to add some isoparms here. All right, let me add a couple more. There we go. grab the hull of this last one. Now remember the trick, I can grab any hull and then just use the arrows to get to the last one. I'm just using the arrows just to kind of reshape this thing. Alright, so now I just created this really quick audio jack. I can add a couple more hulls here. Grab this last hull and change my move tool to normal. Yeah. See, normal works this way too, where I can just pull this straight back on that angle. And then I can just go in with the isoparms here and close this off. With polygons, you really have to do a lot of planning ahead of time to say, okay, you know, where is this thing going to be exactly? Where is this thing going to be? Not exactly, but, you know, it's a lot more planning of where you're going to put stuff. And then if you change your mind, then it's like, okay, well, now I have to kind of rebuild my areas. Okay, polygons are great. I'm not saying they're terrible. But I just want you to be aware that NURBs have their place in the world too. See? Looks like an audio jack right there, so bam, plug in, listen to some tunes. If this was a more recent car, you probably have an actual USB port, but we don't. We didn't upgrade to that feature. Okay? So again, make sure we go through the outliner, clean up our junk. Let's see, that's all this stuff. This is our tray. Just group it. Tray. And this is our audio jack, so we'll just drop that onto radio controls. Delete the history on everything, grab everything, delete the history again. Save it. Save it as, just to be safe. Center divider. Modeling done. Okay? And if you have time and you want to add some more stuff to this, you can add cup holders. Same exact way we've done all this other stuff. Nothing different about it. It's just a matter of adding it in there. You could add coin holders. You could add lots of different things that are inside of cars. Okay. You can even add just like silly stuff, like, I don't know if we can see it in this one. They have like these lines that kind of divide things that are in here. You know, you could add those kinds of things. This is like a really weird car. Okay, so you can add different types of things just to kind of add more realism to this file. Okay, more realism to what we're doing. All right, the same way that I did cutting holes here, you could just cut holes for cup holders or cut holes for anything really. Okay. So there we go, our divider's done. Now our next step in this is going to be to texture and light it, and then obviously render it out. There's not going to be an animation portion with this, but we're going to be doing it a different way. Okay, so stay tuned for that video.